This is Convo by Design, and on today's episode, you are going to hear from an incredibly talented Charlotte-based creative who started as an architect and transitioned to designer. Ashley DeLapp is not the first creative I've spoken with that went the design route from other endeavors. And there have been a few you've heard from in the past that started as architects as well. Ashley holds a BA in architecture from the University of North Carolina. And after spending 10 years as an architect, opened her own design firm in 2009. Ashley's work is theatrical. It's bold. And one of the things that you will hear as we explore her work is both this scientific approach to space and space management, combined with an absolutely fearless use of color and materials. Now, keep in mind that with application of bold comes the more often than not sales approach to the client. Selling these bold ideas must be easier when there's a heavy attention to detail in space management and using a space to let the work breathe. These are just a few observations, and you will hear more, I promise. As a matter of fact, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you know about the deep dives we take with designers together. And in this episode of the show, it is no different. We go deep. So make sure you check the show notes for a link to Ashley's projects. And then you can follow along, provided you're not driving. Let's be safe, right? So let's get into it. You are going to hear from Ashley DeLapp right after this. I am incredibly proud of Convo by Design in year 10, and I'm equally proud of my partnership with Thermosol. They've been presenting partners of Convo by Design for 3 years now, and there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide for a few reasons. They were the first company to design, patent the technology here in the U.S. dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a U.S. brand, a U.S. manufacturer in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody. I have had the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and you probably know this, that the idea of luxury has changed and continues to change, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury space. And if you want to add steam, you have one true option. It's Thermosol. And now, Thermosol, the industry leader in steam, bath equipment, and technology since 1958, is enhancing their already stellar family of products with new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas. Available in 3 design configurations, each sauna is handcrafted from clear Western red cedar or Nordic spruce, inspired by the brilliance of Northern European sauna technology and design. A luxury bathroom isn't luxury without steam. If you want luxury, you have one option. It's Thermosol. Check them out at thermosol.com and at Thermosol on the socials. So I do love that. This is your very first podcast. Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll be nice. I'm always nice.
Thank you.
Interesting though. Why do you think it took so long for you to jump on as a guest on a podcast? We've been doing this a little while.
I know. I don't know. I don't know if it was just me being too nervous or I don't know. I just haven't ventured into the podcast world yet.
How do you feel about media? Do you get nervous promoting yourself?
Very.
Really?
I'm worse at social media. Mm-hmm. I get very nervous and self-conscious.
Isn't that interesting? Because you're a creator, you're a creative, you're an artist, you're an artisan, you're a designer, you're supposed to be out there saying, hey, look at me. And by the way, you know what I think is also amazing, and I totally want to get to this. You are unapologetically like color, patterns, check me out. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm a total introvert. So it's,
Okay.
I think that plays a big part of it.
Okay. I get that. How does that come across with your clients? Do
are you nervous when you meet your clients, or is that just like a different switch is flipped?
A different switch is flipped. It's
Yeah.
so crazy. When I meet people, I have no problem with clients. Small talk, any of that, no problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very weird.
So tell me, I love an origin story. I love, I really do. Tell me the story. Tell me how you wound up here.
Um, so I never had interior design on my radar. Like that was nothing I ever thought to do. I actually went to architecture school
Mm.
instead. So from the time I was like in seventh grade, I was like, I want to be an architect. And so that's what I did. I went to college and graduated with an architecture degree. And while I was in college, I took a job at a firm, and they had me doing finish selections for like these private medical offices. And I just had a knack for it. I never knew. And so that kind of started, that was like my third year of architecture school. So I went ahead and, got my degree, and I was working at a commercial firm, and I started doing the interior design for all the commercial projects. So that's really how I got into the design part. But I started my own business on the side in 2005 doing nurseries and kids' rooms. And that's kind of how it all started. I was doing work for free just to build a portfolio up on the residential side of things. And then I had my own kids, and I rebranded and started doing full residential interior design. And then I quit my job in 2009 from the architecture side of things and took over interiors full time from there.
What is it about interiors that you find more appealing, at least professionally, than architecture?
Well, I like being able to, like, I like to have every project be different. So being exposed to, constantly seeing new fabrics and wallpapers and getting to use color. And it's just a different, it's just like a different animal. Like I still love doing the architecture and plans and renovations and things like that, but being able to use all the color and the fun stuff, I just find I get more joy out of that, I should say.
You know what's really interesting though? I was recently at KBIS and the International Builders Show, and I was blown away. I am amazed by what's available for exteriors, on the architecture side, on the building side, on the construction side. Like this is a renaissance of both interiors and exteriors.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely agree with that.
And I was just surprised by all of the things. Now you can get all the candy and the jewels on the outside of the structures as well now, which I just think is cool. Why nurseries? Why kids' rooms?
I guess because like a lot of my friends were having babies at the time, and I just thought, you can be more playful and whimsical with a kids' room, more color. And Charlotte is not known for color. Like a lot of designers, it's very neutral, and it's beautiful, but it's very neutral. And that's not really my specialty. As you know, I'm like very colorful. So the kids' rooms was the perfect like segue into interior design for me, at least.
You know what? It's funny as you say that. I can totally get that. It's fun. It's poppy. You have fewer rules that you have to adhere to, which is kind of surprising. But you can be more creative. But I'm also surprised that you say Charlotte is not as colorful. I guess while I get that traditionally, I also wonder why, because so many people are moving. I mean, your city is exploding.
Yes, it's crazy.
From both coasts, like just converging on you. How has that changed your practice?
I feel like there's never a lack of work. Even before COVID happened, it's always a steady stream of clients, and people even from outside of Charlotte call because they like the color and they can't find somebody that does that where they live. So, but since COVID, it's just been just nonstop. Everybody's renovating their homes, and the way the market's been, everybody's staying and they want to make it look nicer. And it's been great for, work.
Where does that put you now? As far as the work, finding new clients and managing the practice. We talk about the business a lot on the show, and it's got to be really challenging now because, at the start of the pandemic, many of the designers I spoke with thought, oh, you know what, I'm not going to work again. I'm never going to work again. It's going to be terrible. And then all of a sudden the business just exploded. Mm-hmm. Now we're getting into this other phase where I feel like we've got this disparity in a recession where you've got, people on the higher end, on the luxury side, still just chugging away, doing all of this amazing work. But newer clients on I don't want to call it the lower end, but let's call it the entry level to interior mm-hmm. design, maybe aren't doing as much because they're concerned about where we go now. What are you finding as far as new clients versus established clients and the business itself? Are you finding that clients are saying, I still need to I just need to get this done?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's changed as far as what they're asking you for and what you're doing now versus pre-pandemic?
It's a lot more renovating. As before, it was more like cosmetic changes, maybe, but now it's like full on, let's gut the kitchen, let's gut the bathrooms, let's rearrange our space to make it more functional and make it work for us better. I'm doing way more renovating than I have in years, which I love that side of it. That would be, I'd say, the biggest change I've noticed.
How about the functionality of it? So you're seeing them sort of change. Isn't it funny? The open floor plan will go down in history as one of the most ill-timed design trends of all time. I think we'll get back to that a little bit, but I mean, ill-timed for sure.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand. I get the open concept and everything, but there's still something to me about like an older home that is charming and it has its spaces, and I don't want to go in there. I can't stand when I go in and see a house that just blew it open and it doesn't match the architecture, and it kills me to see that sometimes. It's like, just, value the home for what it is and keep it original.
So do you still, it sounds like you still lean in on your architecture background a little bit. And how does that inform your interiors?
I think I look at things differently, because when I walk in a house for the first time, I'm looking at it as, I'm not thinking, oh, we could put wallpaper here, or we can paint this way. I'm looking at, okay, this wall needs to come down. This kitchen layout is wrong. This bathroom is not functional. I'm looking at it, how I can rearrange the space always, no matter what house I walk into. That's just how my brain works. I'm trying to think how I can make it the best it can be.
I love that. And I'm interested too. So you have got this, what I've said over the years is, I learned early on after doing this show that it doesn't really matter what your design style is. No, it's not an insult too. Good designers are like, yeah, it doesn't matter what I like. My style doesn't even matter when I'm talking about my clients' work. But I do see with every creative that knows their stuff and does amazing work, that there are certain through lines, call them a fingerprint, if you will, but there are through lines in their work that kind of identifies who they are. And even though they're designing for their client, it's still kind of their own personality that's imbued, that's kind of like adhered to the design work. So you are unafraid of color, and patterns. And I mean that in the absolute best way. And it's funny because I'm looking at your website and I'm looking at your portfolio as we're talking, and it's just like space after space after space. Did that start right away? And have you always been like that?
I've always been like that. I think I've been very fortunate to have clients that will take the risk. They're not afraid to paint their cabinets pink or green or teal or, whatever it might be. I just like that statement that it makes. And I think when I started out, I didn't do it intentionally, but all the patterns that I would layer in, it's just what I would put together. And I didn't really look at it as, oh, I'm going to take 5 patterns and make them work together. It just happened to work out that way. But it's a trademark of what I do. I like to mix the patterns. I like the bold color, and that's what clients come to me for now.
Isn't that interesting that, that's what they come to you for? Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, does it ever make you feel, for lack of a better term, typecast, or that you have to, in a performative manner, do for them what you did for someone else? Because inevitably some clients will come to you and say, oh, I like what you did there, I want that. And it's like, no, you can't have that. That's right. Them. This is you. We'll figure out what you want, and then we'll do that.
No, I don't feel like I'm typecast at all. And if I am, that's fine, because this is what I love to do. And I don't think I'll ever get tired of doing this colorful aesthetic. I do have clients who say, oh, I saw this on your Instagram, I want that wallpaper. I want that sink. I want this. I don't like to ever repeat the same wallpaper, fabric, anything. So every client's job is unique to that client. And sometimes I hate telling people that, like, no, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to get you that same wallpaper. I'm not going to do that because, my client before doesn't want somebody to have the same look they have. That's not fair to my client. So I don't ever want to do, the same thing.
And it's hard too, because sometimes I was talking to a friend the other day who was telling me about one of his clients who said to an architect, they fell in, for some reason, the client just had a boatload of money. And I think we've learned over time that having a lot of money doesn't equate to having a lot of taste necessarily. Yeah. Right. And right. They wanted this, they wanted tantamount to a luxury hotel's suite in their own home. So if you go to, like a Marriott, and you see their penthouse suites at certain properties across the country, he stayed in them and loved them, and that's what he wanted in his own house, like down to the furnishings and to the wallpaper and to the lights. And it's like, that's what he wanted. Okay, that's exactly what you want. But at the same time, I feel like one of the true skills that amazing design talent possess is the psychological skill set, the chops, the psychological ninja skills to sort of cut the wheat, separate the wheat from the chaff, to try to figure out what the client actually wants when they say that. They say they like something, but why do you like it? And maybe if you can identify why you like it, then there's something else that they might actually like better. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your approach in regards to that, because I find that fascinating. Do you have a questionnaire? Do you have a psychological approach? Do you try to sort of, how psychologists will ask a question like 3 different ways to figure out if their patient is lying to them or trying to figure out what they're really trying to do? Do you do that? Do you have a way to sort of get to the true essence of what your clients are looking for?
So most of the clients I have know what they want. So it's usually not that difficult, but once in a while you'll have a client that thinks they know what they want. And you really have to have that. I don't really have a questionnaire that I use, but you really do have to pull the information from them. And then they realize, okay, well, that's not really what I wanted. Or they're not explaining it the right way. And that can be hard sometimes because the communication, they may use the wrong terminology. And so I have one idea, but that's not really what they had in their head. So it's really just a conversation. Everything starts with a conversation, and managing expectations is a huge part of this job. So you just have to ask this question, what do you like about it? I have a client right now. He's like he's on the commercial side of things. So he wants the home to have all these commercial things in it. And I don't think it's a good fit because it's a residential space, obviously, and you want it to feel approachable and not like an office building. And, you have to walk that fine line of making the client happy, but giving them something that's not going to look ridiculous in their home. So it's just kind of educating them a little bit too, when you have those conversations.
Tell me about your discovery process. When it comes to art, when it comes to certainly wall coverings, when it comes to accessorizing, your lighting, your knobs, just all of the new things that you have to find, because that kind of speaks to it as well, right? Where if you have a client, you don't want to give them all the same thing, which means your process of discovery has to expand. And I have found, it's really interesting. I have found that to be one of the most challenging opportunities for designers today. And many will tell me, they're just like, Josh, I don't have the time to go find new product. I don't have the time to go research new things. And that has sort of put the onus on the manufacturers and the showrooms again, as far as trying to get the word out there. How do you manage the research and discovery process?
Well, I attend market like most designers do to see all the new introductions. That's the main one. But honestly, I am on the internet all day, every day. You're constantly looking at all your vendors that you go to for your lighting and accessories and furniture and everything else. And as they introduce new things, they don't send out a mass email and say, hey, we've got something new on the website. It's up to you to go and look for these things. So, I'm constantly sourcing tile and ordering samples just so I have everything at my disposal that I'm going to need. I also rely on like my trade reps, like for fabrics and things, to come when they're in town and show all the new collections and order samples. So I have those, because you always want to have new stuff to use on projects. That's, you get, not to say that you get tired of things easily, because I don't, but it's always exciting to get new things and try them out on different projects.
At the same time, do you find yourself, again, I've spoken to others who kind of get in this rut where you keep working with the people you've worked with because you've always worked with them and they know how you work. It's uncomfortable working with new people sometimes, but that's kind of the only way you can grow as a designer. How have you managed that? And I asked the question, I dig deep on this one, because look, we don't have as much room for samples as maybe we did at one point in time. Who wants shelves and shelves and boxes of samples all over the house? Nobody wants that.
Right.
At the same time, most virtually no showrooms or manufacturers offer the idea of a digital lookbook that they promote to their designers. And I've started producing these for some of my clients, and I'm just on the manufacturer side, and it's been fascinating. Have you seen a change in how samples, product swatches are delivered to you?
I would say the biggest thing I've noticed is like more of the boutique brands, like for wallpapers and things, they will send you unsolicited. They will send you packets of samples, which to me is good because I may not have found them otherwise. And then I've got this new resource, So I've seen a lot of that in the last year, like lots of boutique lines, stuff just shows up at the office. And I like that. I probably don't go to the local showrooms as much as I should, just because there's just not a lot of time. It's like when you're juggling all these projects and, I don't know, maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. I just like to stay at my computer and do everything online and get things delivered. And, it's just the way things are now. And I'm more productive that way. So it's the best use of my time just to do it all from my computer. But, obviously you can't buy countertops sitting at your desk. So of course I go to the showrooms and things like that. But
you are listening to my conversation with Ashley DeLapp. We'll be right back.
Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
The Institute of Classical Architecture and Art Southern California chapter is a forum for professionals in the industry and enthusiasts to come together, share their love, and show their commitment to the timeless principles of beauty, proportion, and observation that are embodied in classicism. Their members include renowned architects, designers, landscape architects, builders, students, artists, and creatives from every walk of life. It's a wonderful organization designed to celebrate the unique regional identity of Southern California and help develop the careers of the like-minded. If you're interested in joining or would like to learn more about sponsorship and support for the ICAA Southern California chapter, please email me, convobydesign@outlook.com.
I'm excited for what's next. I mean, between AI, machine learning, metaverse, when the metaverse and the design industry converge, and it will happen at some point. I don't know when, but at some point it'll happen. This idea where you'll have haptic gloves and goggles where you can actually feel the surface of a product. You can do a quasi real sit test. You can actually handle and feel product from your computer or from your own space. I think that's going to be amazing. I think it's well down the line, but we're certainly going there. It's really interesting to me. What about art? How do you find art, and do you find art for your clients? Do you especially high-end art, do you get involved in that, or do you leave that to consultants?
I do get into that sometimes when the client requests it. I like to source from like local galleries here in Charlotte. I've got a friend in High Point that's an artist. That's one of his pieces behind me, but I like to source from him when I have a need for something. I've got another friend here that's an artist. So there's lots of places to get great local art here. So I always like to go local first and support, local people.
I love that. So I do this thing on the show where we kind of walk through. And by the way, I'm going to tell you right away, I am very frustrated with your website for one reason. You know why? Because you don't name your projects.
Like by the street name?
No, or anything. Like I love it's a pet peeve. I love when designers name their projects the same way that I get so excited when the paint companies name their paints. I don't know why I love that as much as I do. It's just the coolest thing. But for those following along, go to Ashley's website. It's ashleydelap.com. You can also find links in the show notes to her website under portfolio. I'm looking at your projects, and I wanted to go through this because so maybe you can help me. I'll kind of describe the project and you can tell me about it. I want to walk through some of these because there's a couple of the through lines that I had mentioned before that I absolutely love and want to drill down a little bit. A couple of top line notes, right?
Okay.
First of all, your color, the way you pop that color in there is simply divine. I'm the first, by the way, the first image on your portfolio page, I'm thinking Northern Lights, that wall covering behind the bed, it feels like it's moving as I'm as it just
Is that not a beautiful wallpaper?
it is gorgeous, but it feels like it's moving as I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm thinking Northern Lights. I'm thinking like it's actually there's motion to it. Um, but I love that because the vignette that you created there gives this feeling of motion to a still image, and I just think it's spectacular. But as the next two images down, you've got like an aquamarine on one side with the bar, and then you've got a fuchsia on the other side. Both of them, what I love about it is the color is infused in the overall design in multiple locations, but it's also, as vibrant as these colors are, they're not overwhelming. I find that to be a distinct skill. Have you always possessed that skill?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it was something I had to like seek out to try and make myself do it. It's what I like. And that's, what I thought would look the best. And like I said, I'm just lucky that I have clients that will let me be adventurous and trust that it was going to turn out well in the end.
What's funny though, Ashley, I feel like that's not necessarily a skill that you go out and seek to learn. I think it's one of those things that I'm more curious if you had to learn on the job, that you had to dial it back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Because it's so skillfully applied. There's one of two ways. It's you. I don't know that you can learn that. I think that, I'm wondering if it's always if it's a trial and error process, or if it's something that just comes natural to you.
I feel like it just comes naturally because, I would never go in and do like a whole kitchen in those fuchsia cabinets. I mean, that would be crazy. But knowing where to put these little pops on bars or butler's pantries or, small spaces, I know where it can handle it and where it can't. So I don't know. That's just something that I thoroughly enjoy doing. It's colorful cabinetry. Like, I just love it.
I love it too. So the mini bar, the butler, it's a mini bar. But you've incorporated it as part of the overall space design, which I wanted to ask you about too. This idea of a second kitchen in whatever form you choose to apply it is not new.
Right.
But the resurgence of this is just incredible. And it's the manner in which it's taking place that I find so surprising. Being a native Angelino in Los Angeles, the house that I grew up in until I was like 12 or 13 was this Brady Bunch 70s kind of hip with the stone fireplace, but had the built-in bar, which was kind of a remnant, a leftover of this 60s vibe, right? Where you would walk around the bar, and then you had the wet bar, and it was just so cool because it added this element of style to the process of living in the space.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. Mm-hmm.
And then the 80s, we just completely went bananas and got away from it. 90s got into this whole like less is more thing. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but we're kind of bouncing back to this concept where it's like, yeah, you know what? You can see the liquor bottles. You can accessorize with alcohol. You can have this. You can create a scullery or a butler's pantry or a second kitchen or a dirty kitchen or a kosher kitchen or an outdoor kitchen. You can have as many kitchens in a home as you want to. And it adds to the manner in which your clients live, not just the way it looks, but the way it performs.
Right.
And I'm curious how are you just completely reveling in this, and how do you apply it, and how do you talk to your clients about, let's put a wet bar here, let's put a scullery here, let's add a coffee bar here. How are you approaching those elements to the work that aren't just necessarily, and I don't mean to minimize it, but it's not just about accessorizing or wallpaper or furnishings?
Mhm. Well, I think it just depends on the client, obviously, and how they live, and if they're, big entertainers, and are they cooks, they like to cook. I've done several sculleries and bars, and this particular project that you're looking at, this was actually like a little standalone building behind the house that was an art studio. And when my client bought the house, she wanted to convert it into her like ladies' lounge / work from home office space. So it already had the sink. It was already plumbed for the sink. So we just, ripped out the existing cabinets and put in new. And she's a big bourbon fan. So we needed a nice bar, and that's where this bar came from. But I think people, they like to entertain now, and they want to have these unique places to display, their alcohol and their glassware and their barware and all the fun stuff. And people haven't really, when I've suggested we do something like an additional space like that, I haven't gotten any pushback. So I think that I don't know that everybody thinks to have those spaces in their homes necessarily, until they might be prompted to add them or something. But, and they don't have to be huge. Like any kind of small little bar space can add a lot of personality. And of course you do some colored cabinets with it, and it's just awesome. But
it really can. Now, curious, do you take the same approach? And what is your outdoor kitchen game like, especially in Charlotte, where you have weather? Do you view it the same way?
I've only done a couple outdoor kitchens, and they're definitely more toned down. They're not going to be the crazy design like the inside. Yeah, I haven't done a ton of those, but they're very, very, I'd say standard. I don't want to say standard, but they're standard.
Why do you think that is? And forgive me, it's kind of a pedestrian question, but as a native Angelino, our outdoor entertaining was so much greater. Like when we had friends come over living at the beach, we never went inside the house. The only time someone went inside the house was to use the restroom or to get something from the kitchen, because everything else was outside. Then we moved to Tulsa, where I'm working on a design house project here. And, during parts of the year, you don't go outside that much. you really don't. But I've spoken to some other designers and architects down in Houston, one in particular, who air conditioned an outdoor kitchen, which I just thought was like, wow, how Texas is that? That is so Texas. That is so over the top. But what's interesting is you have opportunities now, because there are manufacturers that are kind of rising to the occasion and seeing opportunities in this, and it feels like this renaissance. So I'm just curious, from an entertaining standpoint, is it because people aren't in Charlotte because outdoor kitchen isn't a major ask, or is it just not something that you do a lot?
I think they are popular here for sure, but I just haven't had a lot of people ask for them.
I'm also looking at your bathrooms. There's one bathroom in particular that I see a couple of times with it. There's a pink tile in the shower, and
Yes.
and you probably know where I'm going with this. And that wallpaper is just amazing. Tell me about this. Tell me about this bathroom.
Okay, so this client is the same one with the teal bar. And
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So in the outbuilding where that bar is, there's another bathroom. And When I show designs to a client, I always give them two options, and she couldn't choose between the two options. So we did one in the ladies' lounge bathroom and one in the inside house. And the pink bathroom is inside the main house. And that was actually the cat bathroom. I kid you not, she had a litter box in the shower. And I told her when it was done that she better not put a litter box in that pink shower because that would just be horrible. But she is like this awesome client. I swear her house has turned into, she calls it her Barbie dream house. Like, it's so fun and so colorful. And that pink tile, I mean, the pictures are pretty, but it does not do it justice when you see it in person. It is just gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it turned out so pretty.
I bet. And that hummingbird wallpaper is beautiful.
I love that paper. It's a Harlequin paper, and it has like 10 different colorways it comes in, but I love that like citron. And then the birds have like a little bit of blush on their bodies. And so it pulls in the pink from that tile like perfectly. I love the color together.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about though, where you've managed, through your specification, you specified something that actually pulled the color out of the shower. And by the way, if you had that tile on that shower with those fixtures and had a white bathroom, it would be, what I was going to say is it would be beautiful. It would be beautiful, but it would not be layered and textured the way this one is.
Right. Right.
And
no window in this bathroom either. So there's a skylight, but there's no window. So you had to make it bright. And I just think that wallpaper is so much fun. I love it.
It is. I have a very, this is not a pedestrian question. This is more of a stupid question, but are you concerned about putting wallpaper in bathrooms?
No. As long as you have, a good exhaust fan in there, you should be okay. And again, this is not going to be a bathroom that's really, the shower's not going to be used that often. It's more of a powder room for their house where it's located. So I wasn't worried. If it's going to be a heavily used bathroom, I might do a vinyl paper in there so it's cleanable. Okay. But in this case, I wasn't worried about that.
Do you change the adhesive at all on wallpaper in a bathroom as opposed to another room?
I don't know. I leave that up to my wallpaper installer. I'm not. They're the expert.
So I listen. I love that because that's one of the things that I find so interesting. I will talk to some designers who will say, "Oh, well, no. In that case, I'll use the X95 super adhesive over here," because some designers want to know every little aspect about it, and others, like you, which I think is great, you find your trades that you trust, and you let them do what they do. Mm-hmm. And I find that listen. It saves you a lot of time, I would imagine, because you don't need to know everything.
No, that's not my area of expertise. So I'll leave that up to the pros.
So I'm going to try to describe this because I wanted to scroll a couple of images down. There's another bathroom. The cabinetry is like a deep lime green, and there's a wallpaper that is the most vibrant, ornate wallpaper I've seen in a very, very long time.
It's the Schumacher dragon paper.
That's what it is. And I love that paper. But
I do too.
I think it's amazing because from what I can tell, in the mirror, so the back wall is white and it looks like there's art that may be a hallway, but it's clean, and you use that one accent wall with the mirrors and the cabinetry. I mean, it's just stunning. That wall looks like a work of art itself.
I agree. Like, it turned out like so well. She initially wanted like antique mirror on that wall, and it just, when the cost came back, it wasn't in her budget. So I talked her into doing wallpaper. And I just thought this is the perfect I mean, it's just the perfect wallpaper. That is, every time I see that paper, I had used the green version on another job, and it just makes me so happy. Like the colors are so vibrant, and I'm like, who wouldn't be able to wake up and have a good morning going in this bathroom to get ready every day? Like, you know, and she absolutely loved how it turned out. And I did too. Like, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I love that. And then, okay, so the last one I want to ask you about is there is another teal bar, and I'm just going to call it the champagne bar because I see Voof all over it. Who was this for? And is this how did you use it? Where is it placed? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I'm trying to think which one that would be.
It's got the Voof Clicquot and sorry.
Is there wallpaper involved? Or what?
See, it's funny with you. I don't know. I would say it's marble, but it could be a wallpaper.
Is it a kitchen?
It's a bar wall. So I see a lot of champagne in a mini fridge. It's a teal cabinetry, lowers and uppers.
Oh. Yes. I know that is a butler's pantry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is that wallpaper or is that marble?
That's quartz.
It's quartz. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On the back wall.
On the back wall.
Okay. So you have it on the countertop and then you
goes up the wall.
Brought it up as well. Okay. Interesting. So this is a butler's pantry. What was it connected to? How was it used?
So this was a new construction home. So when you walk in the front door, you have your dining room on the left, and then you can see the butler's pantry is open to the dining room, and then it connects to the kitchen. The kitchen's white, but because you see it from the foyer, you know, it was a great place to have a statement. Like, there's colorful pops around this house everywhere, and that's what the client wanted. She's like, I don't want anything I've seen on Instagram. I want something unique. You know, that was her whole thing. And that's what we did. But yeah, that cabinetry is so pretty. And we used, it used to be Addison Weeks. Now it's Modern Matter, but the hardware, and they make it here in Charlotte. Like, it's a Charlotte vendor. So all the knobs are from that vendor. So it just looks like this little jewel box with this pretty jewelry of knobs on it, and it's just gorgeous. And like I said, it's like the first thing you see when you walk in the house.
Okay, so I scrolled down, and you can see that in another image through the dining room. Mm. So I have to ask about this too, because you're right, it is like a little jewel box off the dining room, so it's off the kitchen as well. But in the dining room leading into this, so what you've done is you've created sort of these layers of visual interest. And as you're looking at the dining room, I'm between the art on the left side, as I'm looking in the flamingos on the right, there's a lot going on, especially with that chandelier, with the lighting, and there's so much happening here. I love it. Do your clients start out seeking this level of vibrancy, or is it part of the process?
I would say most clients, like this one in particular, wanted to start with the vibrancy. Like, it wasn't something I had to talk them into or build them up to. They wanted a house that was unique. You know, they didn't want the normal, you know. So for them, it was like, okay, whatever I put in front of them, they're like, all right, let's do that. That looks good. You know, they were easy to convince. I would say some people that we've done color on, they may take a little pushing. I mean, they come to you for a reason. They want to be taken out of their comfort zone a little bit. And, you know, usually they'll end up doing what I suggest, but I'm not going to do anything that they're going to hate. You know, it's their house ultimately, and they have to love what we do. So, you know, I don't force anybody to do anything, obviously, but, yeah, this house though started out with, okay, we're going to, the dining room ceiling, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's like high gloss pink, and it's not,
no.
You can't see it. Okay. So it's high gloss, like blush pink. but it's actually a wallpaper. It's like a vinyl wallpaper from Philip Jeffries. So it's like gloss, 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 real shiny. Like it's just, there's just color everywhere. There's pink sprinkled around the house. There's green sprinkled around the house. It's just so much fun. I love jobs like that.
You know, it's really interesting. You just reminded me of something. So years ago, I interviewed, had this great conversation with a designer, Patrick Sutton. And it was he did this vignette where he upholstered all of the walls in a patent leather, in this electric blue patent leather. And I thought that was amazing. But I also, I think for many, if not most, that's also an unrealistic idea.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of taking that concept, but instead going with a vinyl wallpaper, because I would imagine, and I can't see it, but I would imagine you get that same effect.
You do. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, it looks seamless. Like you can't see any seams, obviously, but it looks like a high gloss, flawless paint job is what it looks like, but it's not. It's a vinyl wallpaper.
And it's pink.
Mm-hmm. It's blush pink. Mm-hmm.
So it pulls from the flamingos.
It does. And then the window treatment fabric is multicolor. So it's got that jade green from the butler's pantry. It's got blush pink. It's got all these colors in there, and it all just kind of ties it together.
I love that. I really do. Okay. So I'm going to ask you about one more thing. See, I always do this. I say, okay, last is the last one. It's never the last one. One of the things that I think truly amazing creatives possess as far as a skill set is I have always been a huge fan of set decorators. And, Tony Duquette, was a set decorator as well as a designer. All really talented designers, I feel like, have to have some element of set designer in them. They really do, because you're going for the theatrical, So the image next to this is a closet. And while I'm sure nobody actually lives this way with their closet, that it was staged to look this way, this is what I'm talking about. The way that a room can make you feel. I just want to know about your thoughts and ideas about this closet, because there's a fur coat it looks like a blue fur coat, and then the way that the clothes are styled, it almost looks like retail.
Yes.
Is that what you're going for?
Mm-hmm. So this client is actually a stylist in Charlotte, and so the way her bedroom was set up, she was my neighbor, so she had a walk-in closet, but then there was a space attached to the bedroom that she just kind of used as an office space. And that's the room you're seeing. So we went in and painted the walls. It's inkwell, really dark, dark, dark blue. And then I told her, I'm like, we should do like acrylic rods. And it's just a way to display like her favorite pieces of clothing. So it's not like the primary closet, but she can bring clients there and have, styling sessions with them. That was kind of her goal. So we wanted it to be set up like a dressing room, basically.
Really I love that. And I feel like, I feel like all closets should have an element of drama like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like they should, but they don't. The closet is often the most overlooked last item. We ran out of money, so just do that.
Yeah. White walls, white cabinets, done. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, by the way, I scrolled down a little bit back to that dining room. You can see the ceiling, and that is
okay.
Yeah, and that is absolutely gorgeous. And again, the only last thing I will say about this, which is probably not the last thing I'll say, but the gloss on paint and the gloss, that feel, I think, is something that is often overlooked, but you don't overlook that. adding that shine to it, because, in looking at this closet, it's a dark space by design, but because of the finish on the paint, it's bouncing light all over the place.
Right. Yeah.
I love that. Well done.
Thank you.
And I noticed in your bio too that you're a real estate stalker.
Oh,
Is this a good time for a real estate stalker who's do you flip? Is that one of the things you do?
I started flipping houses it's been a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
So, and I'd say last spring was like the best time to be doing it. And right now it's the past, 3 months, it's been like, but now things are picking back up. So it's a good time to be doing it again. But I've always been obsessed with real estate. Like always, like I went through this period where I moved every couple of years. I would fix up the house I was living in, sell it, and do it again. Like that's what I love to do. So I'm getting ready to do an addition to my house right now. So I'm planning to stay here for a while. That's, going to be a new concept for me, but I love real estate. I love flipping houses. I love design, period. So it's, it all.
Does that make that you're staying a while? Does that make the family happy?
I have 2 teenage boys, and I think they got a little tired of the constant moving. And so when I mention it now, they're like, oh, they don't want to move again. And I'm not going to move again because my oldest will be in college in 3 years. So no need to move.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Listen, Ashley, I had so much fun today. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, thanks for having me. I had a good time too.
We are living in a time of incredible growth, both technologically and creatively, with respect to interior design, exterior design, and architecture. There is no question. There are companies thinking differently about the business of design and how to make products super serve those for whom they're being made. One of those companies, and one of my favorites, is Moya Living. Designer and fabricators of some of the most stunningly beautiful, incredibly durable, and highly functional kitchen, bath, and outdoor kitchen cabinetry on the market today. Powder-coated steel with stunning lines, vibrant colors to fit any design style or aesthetic. A history of designing cabinetry for the scientific community, so it's been tested in some of the most harsh conditions available. Moya O'Neill is the CEO and founder of Moya Living. She's the inspiration behind the design. Designers, their specification process is so simple. It will make your job so much easier. Check them out online through the socials at Moya Living, their website, moyaliving.com, and in the real world, their live kitchen showroom in Fountain Valley, California.
You hear conversations about transformative design all the time on Convo by Design. We talk about it all the time. But what does that really mean? Design improves the lives of those who inhabit the space, but it also feeds the creativity and the soul of the creative. Are you looking for a way to give back? The Oasis Alliance is a 501c3 collective of creatives based in and around the Washington, D.C. area with a mission to provide healing spaces to those who are rebuilding, rehabilitating, and recovering. Have you wondered how to apply your design skills to uplift your community? It all starts with a desire and a willingness to share your gifts. Danielle Woodhouse-Johnson of the Oasis Alliance and her team are looking for guest designers, in-kind sponsors, and funding to make better the spaces and therefore the lives of everyday people who find themselves coming out of traumatic situations. Check out theoasisalliance.org for more information. Thanks for helping. Thank you, Ashley. Loved our time together. Love the work. Thank you to my partners, sponsors, and friends of the show, Thermosol, Moya Living, Design Hardware, ICAA Southern California Chapter, and the Oasis Alliance. Thank you for taking time to subscribe and listen to the show. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you as well for the emails with show and guest suggestions, as well as some of my favorites, which are those just to say hi and tell me where you're listening to the show. And by the way, so weird, if you know anyone in North Dakota, would you please send them a link to the show? I have listeners in 140 countries and every state in the union except for North Dakota. It's really weird, and it's starting to get to me. So if you know someone in North Dakota, ask them to listen to this show. Thank you. Anyway, please keep those emails coming. I love them. Thanks again for listening. And until next week, be well and take today first.